technology has really always been part of human nature. So if we look back to early mythology and the story of Prometheus and his brother Prometheus, when soon after animals were created, Prometheus was assigned the task of giving animals abilities, capacities, to allow them to survive in the world. And he did that. But by the time he came to humans, he had ran out of capacities to give them. And Prometheus comes along and feels bad for these human beings who really have nothing to help them. So he steals fire, the fire of the gods, for them. And in a way gives us technology, gives us art, gives us the ability to sustain ourselves, to protect ourselves, to warm ourselves. So if we think about that myth carefully, we recognize that even from the very early beginnings of the ways humans have thought about ourselves, the way we humans have thought about ourselves, technology has been inherent in the way in which we've interacted with the world. I've done a lot of work trying to see the manner in which the revolution in digital media that we're living through is consistent with the kind of revolution that Plato and Socrates were living through as Greek culture moved from an oral tradition to one in which literary writing was central. So what's interesting in that regard is that Socrates refused to write, whereas Plato decided to write. And there was a real worry about what writing was going to do to us. Was it going to decrease our memory? Was it going to be a perversion of the human endeavor? Was it going to actually incapacitate us in certain kinds of ways? So a lot of the things that we see people being worried about now with regard to technology, you can find in Plato's text, in a text like the Phaedrus, where Plato has Socrates worried that writing might be a poison rather than a medicine. There are certain values of scholarship, certain values of education that we have that are lasting, that are worth reinforcing, that are worth rededicating ourselves to. And those values are obviously rigorous scholarship, careful reading, close reading, slowing down to understand nuance, preserving the best ideas, the ability to have rigorous peer review. All of those things need to be retained and cultivated in a new media environment. What we gain from new technologies is increased capacity to collaborate, the ability to be public in a way that was really not possible in a paper model, the ability to share ideas earlier in the research process. Those kinds of things require new abilities, new skills, and we need to cultivate those skills. And I think it's incumbent upon us as educators, and I think in philosophy as professors of philosophy and as people who engage in philosophy as an endeavor, to be actively involved in how technology is taken up and how we communicate through technology. We want technology to enrich our scholarship, to enrich our pedagogy, to enrich our lives with one another. I mean, when I think about how I'm using technology in my daily life, in my relationship with my family, with my kids, I think about, well, is this a barrier between me and my children, me and my family, or is it enriching something about our experience together? So for example, with my Picture of the Day project, I set myself the task of taking one picture of something beautiful in my life every day. And that has forced me to look for beautiful things in the world as I move through it. And it has been a really enriching practice because I look at the world differently because I've set this task for myself. In order to understand the technology, we have to put it into practice. In order to understand what it's doing to us and what we can do with it, we need to use it. We need to try it. We need to experiment with it. That's one of the real values of new technology. And that spirit of experimentation should be part of philosophy as an endeavor.